Hello and welcome back, everybody, to a brand new Chisel Bits episode. First of all, I'd like to apologize for being away for so long from this series. And all my series in general, I've been hit with some real life stuff, and I apologize in advance, but it's going to affect me for the next month or so. But anyways, I'm going to do my best to get as much stuff up as possible. So, I'm really excited about this episode because so many people have asked for archways and want to learn about archways, and I can't think of a better way to do it than with some marble pillars and all that kind of stuff to create your archways. Now, of course, you can do it out of any material type. There's multiple different things that you can do, but it's really nice with Chisel and Bits how you can make the columns that much different. Right? I mean, if you just had a column in regular vanilla Minecraft like that, you know, it's very big. It's very clunky compared to the one right here, which is kind of a little bit of a rounded design at the moment. And then equally, even this, it still has the flat sides to it, but it's got just that extra little effect that makes it just a little bit less chunky, if you know what I mean. So I kind of like that. The other thing with going with the flat style is you can add effects into the side. You know, you can chisel out things. I see this a ton on marble pillars and all that kind of stuff when they're more brick-like or square on the side instead of a little bit more of the rounded or designed. So lots of little things that you can do there. Definitely recommend playing around a little bit with some of the stuff that you can do in the sides of these things. It can be pretty sweet. So you can do some neat things, and it really just adds that extra little effect. You know, you can use these as targets too, or markers for your base. Maybe you have directions put into the sides of your pillars. I don't know. But one thing about archways, and especially the marble variety, a few of the other ones have this too, but when you're talking about a column, when you get to the top of that column or before you start an arch, there's usually some sort of a special decorative block or transition block, as I'm going to call it in this term. So I'm going to do my best to try to get ourselves a little bit of a transition block with maybe some finesse and details. I don't know. This one might be simple because we have the rounded column. There's a lot going on here. This one might be a little bit more on the simple side, but it really kind of just works its way into what becomes the archway. So last episode we talked a lot about staying in the confines of your block, and that's kind of how we started here. As you can see, we're within the confines of the block. Now, most caps, when it comes to pillars and stuff like that, actually tend to get bigger than the pillar itself. And usually there's flares on the bottom as well, which we might do a little bit later on, actually. That's a good idea. But as you can see, these are within the block. But then we go up here, and now we're starting to talk about being outside the block. A little bit harder and more of a pain to copy and all that kind of stuff, because not only do you have to copy the base block, but you're going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4 more blocks to copy over. Now, this is a very simple, straightforward design that you can easily pull off very easily. Just a little bit of a lip and you're pretty much good to go. It's a little bit larger on all diameters and just certain little effects. We also went a little bit wider on the sides than we did down below. I think that kind of adds an interesting effect as well, but I kept it the same on the front and the back. Now, you can go crazy with this. You can go bonkers, and I actually recommend going a little crazy with this. And the reason why I left it so that we have, access to it is so that we can do things like this and kind of just play around with the side of the block here and see what we can kind of come up with for a pattern, if you know what I mean. So, you can do lots of cool and interesting things overall. That was the wrong bit. There we go. And it's just going to add effects to your column. And these are usually very decorative, these parts. They tend to have designs in them for the most part, so I do recommend it. Now, one quick thing that you can do, and let's just demonstrate, is this right here. You can copy this side. If you wanted to just have it on the other side, you can replace it like so. All right, so that you still are keeping your symmetry, and now both sides have that effect. All right, so that's another thing that you can do that's pretty easy with your designs and your pillars in general. Now, I don't know if I want it to be this tall, but I'm going to try it first and foremost. And then from there, we can see how this part ends up being. Because when you start working within the block and all that kind of stuff, you do run into problems where, well, other than that problem, you do start to run into issues when it comes to certain things, all right? The pillars keep going vertically, right? So even if they're hidden or it changes, by theory, the pillars are still going vertically. They are your structure point. So your structure point should carry on through. But we have this nice little platform here to work with. And what we can do on this then is we can actually take a regular block and we can go and expand out from there. Now, I would automatically add in any of your details that went over, unless you are automatically planning on stopping them. But it should match from down below, because things don't normally just stop like that, especially in pillars. These are structure points. You don't have floating things or anything like that. So whatever you decide down here, if you decide to go bigger, you're going to have to maintain that on the next part up. Now, a lot of the times they do square out at this point, or they end up being quite square or flat at the top. And this is interesting to me, and I can't wait to play around with it a little bit more. Alright, so the pillar's starting to come along a little bit more. I made a quick little base. Again, draw region, very friendly. And we kind of have this capped out. And again, like I have up here, a quick example of where the block is. Now, a lot of the times in these archways, it actually does narrow after the platform here. All right, or after the topper. Pillar top, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the actual technical term, but I always call it a pillar top. All right, so you have your pillar top up here. Now, obviously, all of this is going to need to be copied over as well to the other side, just because that's pretty much how these things work. Now, a lot of the times it does narrow back down to your regular size block. This is where things get a little bit interesting when it comes to the archway. I'm going to quickly copy over all of this stuff, though, before we get too carried away. And, yeah, it's already getting a little too carried away, if you ask me. So, we need to get this thing operational ASAP. So, yeah, I'll be right back with that and the copying. Alright, so I just put a regular marble block up there, and I'm going to start working on the incline here, because this is where things get a little bit interesting. Now, I recommend looking up a circle generator online to actually get the measurements and everything, because an archway is essentially usually just a circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 6 high, 4 high, then we're going to go 2 high off of that. So we need to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one thing that I always think about with Chisel Bits is, imagine you're making a regular circle, right? In Minecraft. I'm sure we've all made a circle tower or something along those lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, then you have 2, then you have 3, right? So you're starting to form some sort of thing. This is the exact same thing as placing down bits, okay? It is no different than just placing down a single bit. It's just a different way of thinking about it. So when we're doing this, we have 6, we have 4, we have 2, then we're going to have 3. Now this is, again, some of the things. Always backfill in, and then I go up 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I'm using draw region on purpose here so that we can kind of fill in accordingly. Now this might be a little bit short of an archway, but I'm gonna see how it works once it's all filled in, because it should actually be a proper circle. All right, so 1, 2, 3, and 1. All right, so now we've basically completed the first block height size of this arch. All right, and then from there, we're looking at additional things now. So this is going to be 2 high is our next up. So 1, 2. All right, pretty straightforward, pretty easy overall. I just want to do that and that, and then we fill it in. Okay, now this is kind of the thing. You always want to backfill in the backside, and our column is going to carry on up. All right, so we're going to be using the Minecraft blocks as kind of our column at this point in time. So we're going to go up 2, and then we go up another 1. So all these little things, I'm going to quickly get ourselves a little bit of an archway here and follow through with the design that I have picked out, and we'll see how the arch looks when it's all said and done. I might have needed to start it up 1 block higher, but we'll see how that goes. Now, when you start to make the turn going the other way, this is where things get a little bit tricky. You got to make sure you're always going the correct direction. All right, I already messed up once or twice there. So we have a 2, we have a 1, and then we have 2 again, and then we have another 1. Now, the thing is, so we're carrying on, we're pulling it all the way over, and then going up just by 1. Okay, so it's kind of making that little bit of a circular arch. All right, now you could also do like a an ellipsoid or any other or multiple different other kinds of stuff that you can pull off for sure. But anyways, we need to keep on going here. So that's a 1, and then we have a 3. Now, again, we were going 3 high originally, right? Well, now we are actually going 3 wide, right? So we're going 3 on the x-axis instead of the y-axis, okay? So there we go. So you're only going up by 1 because it's only 1 high block, but now you're going 3 wide, okay? So it's a little bit different way of thinking about it, and I highly recommend getting a little bit used to it, or have yourself a reference that you draw out with regular Minecraft blocks like that, all right? So there we go. We got our 2. Excellent. And then it's a 4, and then we should be pretty good to go. So we can actually do that. Then we can put in the draw region here again. So we're at 4 on this y-axis. So we need 1, 2, 3, and 4. Beautiful. All right, and then on top of that, we need another 6. All right, so pretty straightforward, and this will give us the start of our archway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, beautiful. So that is what we are looking at. All right, now we can actually copy and paste this over, just like everything else. So we'll go up a couple, and boom, there's our second section, and here is our third section here. Boom and boom. And look at that, it matched up perfectly because we did the circle correctly. Hooray! We did it right. We did it right. So there you go. We actually have an archway here. We do. And it works very nicely. You can obviously, you know, you can match up this. You can do other things to enhance the archway if you so choose. Again, I highly recommend doing little things in here or added on to it, all right? But that's the basics of how you do an archway. It's still a Minecraft circle. No different, but adding in some of these effects, going bigger down here, and all that kind of stuff, it really changes the dynamic. Now, how did I get the dimensions for the circle? Well, there's 16 blocks per block. So 16, 32, 48, 64 for a 4-wide arch. Type in 64 in the circle gen and away you go. So there is your basic archway. Now, there's other things once you get the basic archway done that you can definitely tweak. You know, you could round it up on this face as well. You can obviously tweak the face of these blocks. I'm not going to get into too much detail there, just because, well, time and all that kind of stuff. But there's a few things that I'll say with Chisel Bits. The arches and round or flats, okay? So, for example, here is your standard Minecraft blocks, all right? But say you wanted to make this into like a wedge. The one thing that I will say, as I hold down the wrong mouse button, left mouse button deletes, right mouse button places, okay? So one thing I will say, this game, Chisel Bits kind of struggles with, in my opinion, is this right here. It is the diagonals. It is the circles and all that kind of stuff. Because there's so many little bits getting added in, there's a lot of detail there, and it's not a smooth platform, right? So those of you that are familiar with carpenter blocks, for example, you guys will be able to identify immediately that this is not the same as what a carpenter's wedge used to be, right? Carpenter's wedge was pretty straightforward. It would actually give you a flat, smooth plane. So when you get into stuff like this, it's not as good, okay? And this is no fault of the mod or anything like that. It does actually give a cool effect, but it's not completely smooth, right? Kind of like a face of a block over here is. So it's not all smooth and all that kind of stuff. What I recommend in these scenarios is pretty straightforward, where you run into simple things, but you basically remove chunks out of it and make it just more unique, right? So you could do something like that. You could, you know, put it like that. I recommend bigger chunks is kind of what I'm saying. Instead of the little 1x bits. And you'll notice it in here. It's kind of ridgy. It's not exactly what you would picture a nice, smooth archway that we would handcraft. But that does the job. That is a beautiful archway on even numbers as well. On odd numbers, of course, you're just adding another 16. So 64 and 16 is what? 70, 80. So you're just doing the math to find out how many bits are placed to determine your circle, to then place your half a circle in there. Again, if you want to go with like an ellipsoid or something like that, it's going to give you a higher arc. Not normally the case. Just saying. Most archways are half a circle. Just saying. So, anyways, I hope you guys like this little tutorial on archways. I hope it makes sense. I think it works great with this platform here. And, yeah, I think we should probably... can we leave it at that? Yeah, I think we can. I think we can leave it right there. And, kind of just work on some other things instead for the next setup. So, that's it for me. I really do appreciate all of you tuning in and watching these little tutorials or, information sessions. By the way, if you want to go crazy and have an awesome archway, say you are in a basement or something like that, now we are talking good stuff. You can copy and paste your arches, and you know what? Even using this to, say, support up your roof, where now all of a sudden your roof just comes out here like this. Here's your roof of your base. Of course, all marble, because why not? And there you go. We have the archways also helping to support up the roof of your base. So that's going to be it for me. Really do appreciate it. Leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends if they want to learn some stuff about Chisel and Bits. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.